feels like you're walking on a trampoline, and it feels like there's an earthquake every now and then. And in terms of the dizziness, it just feels like you're constantly on a boat, right? You're constantly on a boat, it feels like the floor is moving. How's it going, guys? Miguel here from CFS Recovery. In this video, we're going to be talking about vertigo and dizziness. These are two very, very common symptoms when it comes to a hypersensitive nervous system issue. I know almost everybody has experienced these at some point in their recovery journey, and I want to share with you some strategies to help you overcome this and what you can really do about it so that way you can start getting your life back and doing all the things you want to do without having this annoying symptom popping up or just running in the background. So if you don't know me, my name is Miguel. I had CFS for about 4.5 years. At my worst, I was in a hospital getting spoon-fed for about a month, but I did spend about 2 months in the hospital. And then 10 months later, I was hiking up a mountain in Hawaii, watching the sunrise. So back when I was recovering, I had this for about 4.5 years. I did have a lot of dizziness and a lot of vertigo. And it was one of the most uncomfortable things. I mean, there were a handful of uncomfortable things, but this is one of the things I hated the most, and I had it when my symptoms would flare up really bad. And I especially had it when I felt like my body was crashing. When I was lying down there, it felt like I was almost upside down or my body was doing backflips. Sometimes when I was trying to sleep, it felt like that, like I was falling backwards. Other times, I'd just be standing up trying to make food and just looking down, it felt like the room was tilting back and forth. Also, another way to describe this that, we've seen with a lot of people in the Recovery Jumpstart program is it feels like you're walking on a trampoline and it feels like there's an earthquake every now and then. And in terms of the dizziness, it just feels like you're constantly on a boat, right? You're constantly on a boat, it feels like the floor is moving. So just know right off the bat, this is very common. Don't worry, you're not going crazy. There are more people who deal with this than you think, and I'm gonna help you try to get out of this. Now, when it comes to a hypersensitive nervous system, you might have seen it in my other videos, and if you haven't, then definitely check this video out where I talk about how all your symptoms lead to this one thing, which is your nervous system. The way to overcome this dizziness and vertigo is to not try to directly deal with the dizziness and vertigo. Yes, there are things that you can do to mitigate those symptoms when they are flaring up, but as a whole, there's nothing you can really do to target that specific thing, because that specific thing is caused by a hypersensitive nervous system. Granted, as long as you have had your tests and scans done and you've seen multiple specialists and they're not showing anything that explains these symptoms, then yes, you can pretty much chalk this up to a hypersensitive nervous system. I myself, I saw a cardiologist, I saw naturopaths, endocrinologists, neurologists, I had MRIs, I had brain scans, CT scans, x-rays, blood tests, nerve conduction tests. So many different tests. I even lost count, actually. I have a long list somewhere, but they were not finding anything that was going on, although I was feeling all of these crazy symptoms. So it did lead to a lot of frustration, of course. And I just want to let you know that you can absolutely turn these things around, especially the vertigo and dizziness. These are things that go away. There was a time where I had vertigo probably 3 weeks straight. And when I say straight, there wasn't a single second where it didn't feel like the room was moving, right? This was in one of my worst crashes, and it was horrible, because 1 second feels like a minute feels like an hour when you have this, not to mention all the other symptoms you have on top of this. So it's really your body going into crisis mode. It's trying to figure out what's up, what's down, what's balanced, what's the middle ground. It doesn't know. It's really confused. And that's really what all of these symptoms are coming from. It's a confused nervous system. And so what we have to do overall is help calm the nervous system down. Now, I have many other videos for that. I definitely want you to watch this video up here. It's called the pendulum video, and that shows you kind of what's going on. There's also many other videos on my channel that will help with this. But in this video, if you are having a flare up and these things are getting worse, sometimes the best thing to do is just sit down. Sometimes even lying down is too much. You might have to lie down and have like an elevated head. So just stack some pillows on there. Even drinking something cold, right? Or drinking some kind of water, something to distract your mind from that sensation. You'll actually find that sometimes when you do certain things and they're at least somewhat enjoyable, it actually takes the symptoms away. So whenever I was eating, I had minimal symptoms. Whenever my grandma, when I was completely bedridden, she would feed me every day and drop off food. And when I could, I would eat on my own. But she'd drop off these grapes. And I remember I would just peel these grapes with my teeth one by one for hours just to help time go by. But it helped me focus on something else other than the symptoms. The texture of the grape, the texture of the skin of the grape, the juiciness of it, the sweetness. Some of them were sour. So if you can do things that will help the time go by a lot easier, that will really help. This actually brings up this experience or this situation. Actually, we have this lady in the program where vertigo and dizziness were her main things. Shout out to Wendy. She's in the Recovery Jumpstart program, but I think this is a great example to talk about because her main thing, like I said, it was vertigo and dizziness and all of these things. And she had it for years, right? A long time. And along with the other things like fatigue and things like that, anxiety. But with the actual vertigo and dizziness, these things were almost always there, to the point where even riding in a car was very difficult because just the car turning and stopping, that would just amplify the vertigo. But she was at a point where, even looking down to try to cook food or make a smoothie, that would cause some issues, right? But now she's able to do a lot of these things without having a crazy flare up, and actually very minimal symptoms when it comes to vertigo and dizziness. Even reading a book can be difficult sometimes, right? And you can also have this feeling where the vision, it's almost like zooming in and out and like twisting, right? So there's a lot of weird stuff going on, and it's a very real experience. It's not all in your mind, like a lot of people say. So it does get better, right? And now she's doing much, much better. So what you have to focus on is not so much the vertigo and the dizziness. It's actually the anxiety and a lot of the panicky feelings and that stress that is caused by the dizziness and vertigo. So it's usually the fear about the symptom that actually makes it worse. And I have a video up here breaking that down and how things can kind of spiral out of control. So the next time you do experience vertigo or dizziness, really catch yourself starting to worry and starting to go into that downward spiral. Because I remember when I had that, I would think, is there something wrong with my brain? Am I having a stroke? Should I call the ambulance? Something is clearly wrong with my body. What if I fall over and like smash my head on the ground? So there's all these things that I was worrying about. And that was actually perpetuating even more symptoms, right? The more stressed we are, the more intense the symptoms will feel. So we have to catch ourselves falling into that trap. That's actually the best thing you can do about those symptoms. And your body's really interesting. The symptoms that bother you the most are the ones that will stick around the longest and the ones that will be the most uncomfortable, right? So some people, they don't care about dizziness. They're like, that's fine. But they're terrified of heart palpitations. And it's interesting because that symptom will be the loudest for them. They'll feel their heart pounding. And when they go walk up the stairs or they go to the washroom, their heart is pounding. And that is their most obvious, their most loudest symptom. If dizziness is your biggest kryptonite, I do have another video where I talk about kryptonites in recovery. And the kryptonites are those symptoms that bother you the most, that get under your skin. It's almost like your nervous system knows which buttons to press to keep you in survival mode. And that video is up here. It's called Solving the Biggest Roadblock in Recovery. It talks about that kryptonite and how to deal with it. But your nervous system, its whole purpose, it's to help you survive and put you in survival mode. Now, how all of this works is our body was pushed to a certain point where the stress levels were so high that your body had to manually come in and say, okay, we are shutting this party down. We are giving this human body fatigue, lots of anxiety, lots of symptoms in order to keep this person put. We don't want this person going back out into the world, exposing themselves to stimulus again. So all these symptoms is actually a preventative measure to stop you from exposing yourself to more stress. Because if we rewind the clock, if you think about how you actually ended up here, you were very stressed. I can guarantee it. At the time that all of this really hit you and things got really bad and started going downhill, you were very stressed. There were some big stressful things happening. Maybe it was a virus or getting COVID, or it was moving houses. Maybe you lost a loved one. something happened where you got overstressed and your body just hit that wall. So your body is trying to stop you from experiencing the world, right? And the only way it can stop you is by giving you all these physical symptoms. So it will find the symptoms that bother you the most. And here's the thing, the more the symptoms bother you, the more your nervous system goes, aha, this is the one. This is the symptom that will keep this body safe. We're gonna keep triggering this symptom. In fact, the more it bothers this person, the more we're gonna do it, because that's almost guaranteed to make this person stay put and not go back out into the world. So, I break that down in a lot of my other videos on this channel, but in a nutshell, that's how you want to respond to these symptoms. The best way to overcome any symptom is to control your response to the symptoms and at least have a neutral response to the symptom. I'm not saying you have to be all happy and excited when a symptom comes, although some people do get to that point when they understand that that's how you rewire the brain. But right now, if you're new to this content, try to stay neutral when your symptoms come up. Being neutral does not mean you don't experience the symptoms. Being neutral does not mean it's not uncomfortable. It will be very uncomfortable, but it will be much easier to deal with when you can respond well to the symptoms. And I guarantee you the symptoms will go away much faster and they will be much less intense. So those are my tips for vertigo and dizziness. Just know that they absolutely go away, and it is a very common thing. You might have times where it's flaring up more and other times where it's not as apparent, right? And you'll have these ebbs and flows in recovery, but in a nutshell, as long as you're responding well to the symptoms, then this will go away over time. I don't remember the last time I had vertigo, and the last time I had dizziness was when I drank some alcohol, but that is completely normal, right? So that's just what I wanted to share with you. If you did want some help on your recovery journey, if you wanted to learn more about these things and needed some more specific help for your specific situation, because maybe your main symptom isn't dizziness or vertigo. Maybe you have other things like POTS or brain fog or heart palpitations, and those are really kind of freaking you out. I have other videos on this channel, but we can also build you a personalized plan in the Recovery Jumpstart program where tons of people are making progress all the time, just like yourself. People going from bedridden to functioning again, people going from completely debilitated to going on vacations. And it's just amazing to see. If that's someone like yourself and you're looking to get extra help on this, feel free to click the link below and check out the Recovery Jumpstart program. Obviously, we can't help everybody. We want to make sure that you have all these other health issues ruled out in order for us to work with you. But if it is a good fit, then we would love the opportunity to help you get back to thriving health. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button, hit that thumbs up button, and comment down below what was your favorite part about the video or what was your biggest takeaway. And again, I'll leave the link in the description so you can check out the Recovery Jumpstart program. Always remember that you are a thriver, not a survivor, and you are just one mind shift away from living a life with thriving health. I'll see you in the next video.